Hey, Brownin.
Out of many, one people.
Just a matter of where we got dropped off in the slave trade. There's a black woman. Let me lock my car. God rest Granny's soul, but yes, she says that marijuana, it is natural and it is good. Chocolate mint on the outside, on the inside. Don't give him any justification. It's not real. When you're in America, and I'm so serious, you just see your view of America. We're not taught to see a world view. Whereas, don't tell Donald Trump. You say harassment, they say, hey, look, it's just how we greet you.
Can I touch your nipple?
Just go for it. Don't listen to what you see on the TV because it's very limited. That's my TED Talk. Thank you. Tiffany Robinson, Black American living in New Zealand, and I am an urban planner, but most of all, I am a follower of the Ihu and loving it.
If you're not happy with something, I'm gonna ask her where the direction's gonna go. You can just say like, Yana, no, go in there. And you, Yana, we're not going there.
I'm gonna say.
Or you say no comment.
I'm gonna say Dumbo, and then you just know, like, no.
Dumbo.
That's it. Cut it off.
So you ended up in New Zealand.
Yes.
Born and raised in New York. Spent some time not born and raised. No,
it's complicated.
This is where, okay,
yeah.
We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But you spent some time in New York and
All
LA.
my life. Yes. Most of my life.
Most of your life.
Yeah.
Then LA for a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then here.
Yes.
So for me,
a little stopover, layover in Bali. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Layer Bali.
Yeah.
It's like layer of Bali.
A little sliver of Bali in there, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of a really cool transition because, you know, for me it's not a native New Zealander and also choosing it as a second home.
Yes.
It's not just traveling from point A to B, all of a sudden, you know, like I'm packing my stuff, I'm off.
Yeah.
It's the sequence of events, of experiences, of epiphanies, or even in my case, everything started with a random dream that was that appeared after a traumatic experience. I decided as a teenager that I needed a dream, like to keep me awake and to keep me elevated. Nice. So that's why, in order to reflect how you ended up here, I invite us to reflect back and travel to the past.
Ooh,
and yeah, it might get emotional, but we've got goodies.
Yana, this was not in the contract. You did not say anything about crying. If you make me cry, our friendship is over. Done.
Okay, Dumbo. You can say just Dumbo. Okay, you can just state the
All right,
facts.
fine.
Anyway.
No. I'll go there with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So talking about how it all started in this lifetime, about your childhood, where you grew up. You said it's complicated.
Just the born and raised part. Because I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, more specifically Fort Atkins, Wisconsin, which is like, I've never actually, besides being born there, I've never been back there. But I was raised in New York. So it always just throws people. I can never say I was born and raised because I wasn't born in New York.
It's not true, right?
Yeah. I would love to lie about it and like, but I was born in Wisconsin. But there's a reason why I was born in Wisconsin. It's because my mother was going to school at the time. So my mother was going to the University of Wisconsin, and that's why I was born in Wisconsin. So, yeah. And then from there, we went back to, I grew up in Yonkers, New York. There was a period of time where, because my mom was going to school, because my grandparents were in New York, there wasn't really an opportunity for someone to take care of me. I was a little young. And there was family back home in Jamaica. That's where my family's originally from. I'm first generation American. So they actually sent me to Jamaica so that my mother's sister, not my mother's sister, my grandmother's sister, my aunt, Lena, could take care of me. And so when my grandfather, there's a story that he used to love to tell. He's passed on now. But when he went to come visit me there, he didn't really like the conditions that he saw me in.
In Jamaica?
Yeah. And so what he did was he decided that he was going to take me back. He did not tell my mother or my grandmother. And so when they come to pick him up in the airport, they're like, is that Tiffany? Like on his arm? And yeah, and so basically he said to them, I don't care what it is that we have to do, how much we have to work. She's not going back. We're going to take care of her. And like the other piece of that story is that my grandfather always had pockets and always had like his glasses or a pen in there. And so my grandmother was like, I just saw you playing with that pen, you know, always playing with that pen. And that's how they were like, we know you're going to be a writer. And so writing is like something that I love to do. I don't do it as often as I should, but it's definitely something that I love to do. And they were just like, yeah, we always knew you're going to be a writer.
How interesting.
Yeah. So my mom's always like, we're waiting on the book. So I'm like, okay, Mom, it's going to come. Don't worry. Just waiting for the chapters to fill up, you know?
Exactly.
But,
season after season.
Season
you need a
after
few seasons
season. But, you
then
know,
boom. That's cute.
I feel like, yeah, coronavirus has taught me not to wait because you never know if you're going to get that opportunity to wait and build up the chapters. Just, you know, maybe start to look at it now. So
yeah. We can push you in that direction.
Yeah.
Can watch behind your back if you need. I'll hire
Give
my
me a
people.
book. All right.
So your grandfather actually played a lot in your life, right?
Yeah. I grew up with my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather on my mother's side, and my mom. So it's pretty much the three of us. My aunt had a really integral role when I was first growing up. And then she went off and found herself a man. So she got married and left us. No. I mean, true, but not true. She was still very involved. My aunt is like my best friend. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cute.
So, but yeah, she moved out of the house and she got married. Then she had her kids, and then my uncle had moved out and had the kids. So it's really just my mom, my grandfather, and my grandmother, and myself. Yeah.
And then your younger sister appeared.
Yes.
A few
I had
years.
10 years by myself as an only child.
And you
as
enjoyed
an
it?
introvert, I loved that. Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I was very interested when you said that you had Jamaican heritage and blood in you. Yeah. And I can definitely, like, then when we started to talk more, I was like, yeah, perfect, makes sense. And as an outsider, and it's always a fact, that's when we face stereotypes, even without realizing that we have stereotypes about culture. But I always thought, like, there's African American, and this is like the community.
Yeah.
The heritage or how they're different from one another, it doesn't really appear to you like it's a big, makes a lot of sense or it's a huge difference. But it actually is, right? Like, and I was just wondering, because I'm curious about not the minorities, I don't want to put it this way, but like differences of Afro-American culture in the States. And if you had friends growing up or as a teenager who were from different parts of the world, and what it was like, what was the dynamic? I was really curious, because it's like, you know, we label it's like Black community or something, but there are so many different, the same thing with people like Russia, when they think of Russia, and then they're like, you have Asian people in Russia? I was like, yeah, did you look at the geography? Or
well, same. You would also be surprised to know that there's a large population of Chinese people in Jamaica.
Yeah, no, I studied geography. I just Indian even. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and even in my family, my grandmother's father was half Irish, and so she has. My grandmother had a Irish surname, and it's like, you know, So her last name was McPherson, and that's as, you know, Irish as you can get, probably.
Wow.
So even those little things, but I think it's important to kind of identify in the States the differences between, like, so if someone asks me, what is your race? If I'm outside of the States, like here, I will always say Black American. And I have to side note on this. It's interesting being in a country where you check off your race and you're now an other, because your race is not recognized. I'm not African. I'm not from the continent of Africa.
Exactly.
I'm American, and so there is no checkbox for me.
The Jamaican American, right? Like that's what would
but
you...
even I would actually say I was Black American. Because for me, the Black American, and I'll get into the distinction of that, but either way, none of that appears on any of the forms that I've filled out here. So I am an other race in this country, and I just find it so interesting. I have to say, you know, I feel like there's enough of us now that you can maybe add it as a criteria, but you know,
maybe you should speak it up, because I actually, maybe it wasn't a personal issue for me like this, you know, identify, because I always check like New Zealand, are they European or something, but it's also not that. It's so interesting.
And I've read that,
sorry to interrupt.
No. And I've read that Americans are supposed to fall under the European, and I'm like, that seems very strange. That seems even weirder.
Interesting, yeah.
So yeah, it's when you don't, and this is all part of everything. When you don't see yourself in something, you become more just like, I'm a stranger in this land. I'm not even recognized by, you know, my race is not even recognized, you know? So that's one. And it's kind of a pill that I have to just swallow, because I've chosen to come here, and I can't expect that, you know, you guys are going to change all of your forms just because, you know, Tiffany's here and she's Black American. She should have a choice on these forms. But I hope that in time, just even the realization that maybe other could be expanded, you know, to include Black Americans or African Americans. And so the reason why I say Black American versus African American is because I find that for me, African American really represents the history of those whose ancestors were part of the land and grew up, and as we would say, like in the south of the southern portion of America. Where the slaves, well, I'm going to say that where the slaves first came, but that's not really true. They kind of just came all up and down the coast, the east coast of America. And so for me, African American means that you have history and history and history of your family being in America from when the slaves were first brought over. Black American, for me, is representative of everyone else who is still part of the diaspora of being from Africa, but doesn't have that history embedded in growing up generation of slaves in America. So that would include anyone from the Caribbean, and just anyone else. And so that's how
Which is a huge part. Yeah. Right?
There's
population-wise, can you give the breakdown? Because I don't know. I didn't do the research properly.
Bad girl. No,
bad girl. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Okay. Bad girl.
You see? Do you know who sings that?
Bob.
No.
I thought he was...
No.
Okay,
Bob wasn't even alive when that song came on.
Did he do the cover?
No. No, that song is older. This? So I'm going to make you look it up. But no, yeah. So it's a trio. It's anyway,
I know them.
Inner Circle. But Inner Circle also has this song called 96 Degrees in the Shade. It's great.
Cool.
Yeah. So they popularized it. So yeah, and this, I'm going to call you out now. This is a popular misconception that everyone thinks that everything that is reggae is Bob Marley, and there's more to reggae than Bob Marley.
I know that, and I want you to sing all of the reggae. Let's just cut it off. Let's go, because music unites us, you know?
Yes, yes. And
music, there is no...
if you don't know, but before the end of this, every word will trigger me into a song.
Love it.
The way that I think is in songs and music.
Is it Jamaican? Do you think, or is it just you, Tiffany?
I think it's just my family.
Your family,
right? I think we grew up in a very musical household. So, my grandmother always gospel music, gospel Christian music. My grandfather wasn't quite converted at the time.
Heavy metal.
No. So he loved his country music. He loved country music and the 50s music and the 60s, the Drifters, all of that. And then my mom was more contemporary. At the time, it was like Teddy Pendergrass and all of those like 70s like slick music. So like I grew up hearing all of that. And then just growing up with the radio and all of that. Yeah. And always being in church and singing. So yeah, music has been very like a part of my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go for the challenge.
And then I did a mix of music and writing in grade school because I would take songs and then I would turn them into parodies. So Whitney Houston has this song, Where Do Broken Hearts Go? So I rewrote the song and I made it, Where Do Kids with Bad Report Cards Go? And, and it was like, do they go back to their homes? Like, so I love doing stuff like that.
Are you still doing it?
No,
you should.
No.
Do it with Kim
I used
songs.
to write like TV reviews of
Naked
like,
and Famous, like for example, and you're like dressed up and poor.
Hey, dressed up and poor is a real thing. Like if you if you go to LA, there's a lot of people who used to have a heyday and they still are dressed up in, you know, the garb.
It's interesting. You know where I first read it? In memoir? Yeah, well, because you can't write biography if you're still alive, right? Memoir.
Of course you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay, everything is allowed. Flea, the guy from Red Chili Peppers that I adore, he wrote, because I didn't even know about his childhood, so he wrote about living a significant part of the life in LA, and he was saying how they hang out with homeless people who were educated and really like dressed up and like what kind of stories, and you like think of LA, you know, American dream and all of that, but that's the flip side of it, the reality.
The flip side of it is that there are a lot of talented, educated, wonderful people that are homeless and they literally are just without a home. That doesn't make them like any less of a person. And they just don't have a place to live. And living in LA, I can see how it would happen so easily.
How?
Like you come out, like especially if you're young, you come out thinking, oh, I'm going to be in this movie. I'm going to do this, do that. It doesn't pan out that way. You start working you start waitressing or you start doing whatever.
Like La La Land, right? Like that's
like literally.
Yeah.
And you don't get a lot of money. You hardly have a place to stay. You get depressed because you're not getting the jobs. Then you start doing drugs and then you start needing money for the drugs. It's just a cycle. It's a cycle. And the amount of rent that you have to pay, like it's ridiculous. And I think that I won't say everyone, but there are a lot of people that are like one paycheck away from being homeless. And like it can happen like that, you know, and it has nothing to do with the person, you know, their personality or anything. It's just economical and situational, you know? So
it's like, because you think of LA, and I know lots of Kiwis who've been in acting industry, they think of it as, you know, not golden mine, but it's like you're moth that is tending to go to this light
because so many. Everyone wants to go to LA. Everyone wants to go to the Big Apple and make it big, but not everyone will. And that's the hard truth. And I think sometimes we do people injustice when we say, yeah, go. You can do it. You can do anything you want to. I think there needs to also be a reality that it might not happen and you need to be prepared if it doesn't happen. You need to have a backup plan. Don't put all your eggs in the basket. You know?
And I think it's quite mature, like for lots of grown-ups, but probably people when they think about America, you know, like I'm just thinking like the way this country is positioned to the world, that you just come and America loves you, you know, like it's like the Truman Show, like there's always gonna stuff happen. Because my sister studied in America, in Texas, and I remember when I came at the age of 15, and yes, USSR didn't exist, so Russia was on kind of riding high waves of trying to figure out what democracy is. So it was before Putin, so it was different time. And I came to America and watching these movies as well, like thinking, I can see there is such a big gap, even like how society is built up. So my question to you was that, you know, you are born and you understand that you're definitely different. and you knew that you had the Jamaican part of you while you were growing up. You could feel it. And how did it feel? How big the gap between you and someone, other communities, or was, or more like how aware you were that at the core you will never be like this or like this?
I think growing up, where I grew up, I think it was beautiful that I did grow up where I did, because I went to a pretty multicultural school. So I was Jamaican, but there were other people that were from parts of India. There were other people that were from Puerto Rico, Cuba. We all were from different places, and we all knew that our parents or our grandparents held a certain heritage, and that's what we went home to. But when we came together, we're just kind of like the kids that went to St. Mary's. Like, that's it. You know, we're all just New Yorkers, you know? And it didn't matter that, like, you know, Roshni's eating this and Suzette is eating that. Like, we all, like, understood that we each have our own things going on. Because most of us were first generation American, you know? And I think the beauty of it is knowing that you're different in that way, but still knowing that you're growing up to be proud to be American. Like, that was drilled into our heads. We sang proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. Didn't realize that there are other countries that are free, but that's neither here nor there. You know, they literally just, I mean, when you're in America, and I'm so serious, and I didn't realize this until I got out, is that you just see your view of America. We're not taught to see a world view. When I go to, like, countries like Bali and I look on the news, I'm seeing world news. I'm seeing international news. I'm not seeing what's happening in Bali. In America, we pretty much just see, unless you have cable to watch CNN, you're pretty much just seeing your local news or your, like, national news. We don't really know what all is happening. I mean, there'll be people back home where I'll say I live in New Zealand. They're like, where is that?
I know.
So
no,
we're
were
not
making
taught.
jokes about Britney Spears who wanted to go, who were asked, and I think it was real. Are you planning to go with a tour to Canada? She's like, no, I'm afraid to fly across the ocean or something like that. And it's really, and you're like, I'm pretty sure the amount of population is not like that. But even with internet, is it the same way? Or internet?
If you're on the internet, you have to want to search for something.
Of course.
So it still requires you having a curiosity about what is out there. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not our fault, but our textbooks and the things that we're taught and just the way that the structure of the curriculum was is just not kind of promoted that. Things might change now, hopefully. But yeah, that's just how we grew up. And I think it was, for me, knowing I was in a Jamaican household and, like, knowing that we ate different stuff. And, like, there's even stuff that we ate that I do not eat. Like, my family will eat cow foot and pigtail. And I knew, I'm sorry, I'm not eating that.
Pigtail.
Pigtail.
How do you cook it?
Do you want to know about pigtail? About how we go into the Asian supermarkets and there's a bucket of brine and pigtails in there, and then my grandma would always look around for the best ones. Yeah, good times. But yeah, so
crunchy, I suppose.
I don't know, but it's really good. There's this thing called stew peas, and you put the pigtail in there, cook it down with it. It's really good, but I don't eat the pigtail. But anyway, growing up knowing and embracing all of these things, you know, like, it's still, I think it was nice to be in a country where we literally are a melting pot. You know, we have our cultures, we live by them, I was going to 2 different supermarkets, you know. We would go to the Asian supermarkets to get all of the Jamaican things, the yams and all that stuff, and then go to the regular supermarket for all of the other stuff, the ice creams and the things like that. And it was a distinctly Jamaican culture. I didn't have collard greens, which is like a Southern delicacy, until I was in college. And people just assume, like, you're Black, of course you had collard greens. I'm like, no, my family didn't eat collard greens. Like that is, and that's again the distinction when we talk about
right?
like African American versus Black American. I never had collard greens, you know, and there's some people that would have never had like callaloo. Callaloo is what we eat, which is kind of, again, we're all part of this diaspora, right? It's just a matter of where we got dropped off in the slave trade, right? So like in Jamaica, we have callaloo. In America, it's called collard greens. That's it. It's the same basic family, you know, but it's all, again, the experience of what you had in your household. So, yeah. Jingle bells, Batman smells. You guys don't sing that one, huh? Robin laid an egg.
What?
The Batmobile lost its wheels and the Joker got away. Anyway, yeah.
I just got so much inspired by Jamaica.
I love it.
So I hope you can.
I was gonna say that doesn't have weed in it, does it? I don't know how inspired you got.
Oh, this is hilarious! Damn.
By the way, my grandmother said that's the best way to. Marijuana tea is really good for you.
I've never
That's
tried
what my grandmother
one.
says. So
I've never tried one. Have you?
She's a wise woman.
Yeah, she was. She was. I've not tried it, but she was a bit of a herbalist, so she gave me another tea. This tea called Leaf of Life, and it was amazing. I was sick and I drank it, and it's really good, really good. All right.
Just a moment.
Buffalo soldier,
Little treats.
like Rasta.
Yeah. No, there's no weed. As I learn about you, I think I can't start to make the connection why New Zealand, but I want to hear it from you. And I learned that Independence Day, Jamaican Independence Day is coming on 6th of August.
Look at you.
Yeah, so I thought like would be cool to celebrate it a little bit, talking about its culture. And one of the things that really like caught me straight away, and I was like, oh, I can see why I like that part of whatever, Jamaican or just Tiffany as you are.
Yeah.
As the motto of the country says, out of many, one people.
That's right.
I've got it and I've got goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
that's the ideal kind of motto for my lifestyle and how I want people to live.
Yep.
And that sense of freedom, and then Bob Marley and reggae culture that consists of many beautiful musicians, learning that there is a reggae marathon. I'm not a runner, but if there is reggae marathon, I would run. Like, it's just what would make me run. I was like, this is amazing.
I mean,
this is how you can drag people to do like sports because they're amazing athletes and runners.
like Usain Bolt, who's the fastest man in the world. You mean like him? Yeah. Why? Because he eats yam and banana. That's why. That's what. So
that's the superpower.
That's what. Yeah. There's something in the yam, man. I grew up like even just like thinking like I never really got like super sick when I was young. Like my immune system has to be like the most like built up thing right now. But I think it's because of everything that my grandmother used to help protect me. And I mean, she had a battery of things, like things you would put in the, I know Donald Trump is crazy for saying to inject Clorox, but my grandmother used to put Dettol in my bath water, which is like an antiseptic. So she would put that in the bath water for me, which is basically the equivalent of bleach anyway. But anyway, no worries, don't tell Donald Trump. Don't give him any justification. It's not real. And then like she would give me milk of magnesia and castor oil and all these things to just like take care of my body, you know? And it was great.
And
those are all
marijuana.
well, so God rest Granny's soul. But yes, she says that marijuana is, if you boil it, it has great properties. She said where people are going wrong, it's because they're smoking it. Don't smoke it. You boil it and you drink it. And those things, those properties will help heal your body.
I believe that. I haven't tried. Now I'm keen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a kava or something like, natural.
It's a natural herb, guys.
Yeah.
It's when humans, and my common theme in life is humans suck. So it's when humans come in and they want to start to put this in it, put that in it, take this out, put this in. That's when things get complicated. In and of itself, as an herb, as a plant, it is natural and it is good. And that's my TED Talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tiffany. DJ Tiff is in the house. Okay.
I'll sign your prescriptions later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it a part of like Rastafari philosophy? Is that there is a movement of Rastafarism, I think, and I agree with that. It's another ideal kind of scenario that it's horizontal society where no one is fighting. There's no competition as such. Everyone just celebrates every human as he is because we have different talents. So there's like basically the room for everyone. So what are you fighting for? And kind of the way they position, I've never been to Jamaica.
Yeah.
I wanted to.
You need to go.
And potentially after COVID, we'll see. Now I know you, so hopefully there will be a quick arrangement. We can get on a private jet and just fly.
I don't know
to
about
Russia
a private
first,
jet, but I still got family down there. So yeah, we can hook you up.
Yeah, but it just seems like such an ideal society, where there's a lot of freedom. There's like the climate is amazing, the food, the culture, music, all of it. But your grandfather find out that it's not the perfect condition for my little granddaughter.
Yeah.
So what are the imperfections and what are the things that are not, I don't know, that don't, because there's no perfect place in the world.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
what is the flip side of this beautiful place?
I think probably when my grandmother was the first to come to America and kind of get her visa and then bring her husband and the children up. And I think what she was looking for was a better life in terms of opportunities, because, as is any small country, you can only do but so much, can only go but so far based on the systems that are in place. So I think that America gave her an opportunity to branch out and do something different, and I think some of those same things still exist in Jamaica in terms of it's a small island, and people are still trying to figure out how things might fit into place. There's a lot of people. It's small, but there's a lot of people. And it's I think if you want, it's similar to perhaps why I'm not in America. If you want something different, if you want a broader opportunity, if you don't want the same old, then perhaps you want to explore somewhere else. But if you're comfortable where you are living a life, I mean, I've spent like 2 weeks in Jamaica, literally like you're getting up when the cock crows, because that's what you do. It's going to be the cock. Yep. And then it's going to start to be the goats. And then it's going to start to be the cows. So if you
hierarchy, there is an animal hierarchy over there.
If you think you're going to sleep, you're not. So you might as well just wake up. But anyway, so you wake up, you go outside, you get your fruits if you want, you get your mango, you get your coconut water, you grab your ackee. Ackee and saltfish is our national dish. And so you make that, and it depends on what you're doing. Like if you have a job, in the city or even in the country. But that's your life. You're going to do that, you're going to do that. And then you come home. And if you're satisfied with that, that's cool. But there's some people that want a little bit more, but it's a beautiful place to just be.
Would you retire there?
I would not retire there. Because, well, you know what? Actually, I say this now. I actually have learned not to say no to anything, actually. So I'm going to retract what I said, because you never know. You never know. I might say no now and things might change.
And then someone else interviews you. You said no in this interview.
Exactly.
And you're like,
we have on record here that no. No. I say this because for me personally, as a person that has not lived in Jamaica for like any long period of time, it's probably... It needs to be a little bit safer. There's a few safety issues for me as a woman that would be living there by myself, potentially. I think that probably needs to be, for me, ironed out. And that's why I retract it, because perhaps by the time I'm of retirement age, the things might change.
Interesting.
And it might be a really cool place to live. And I might have,
You intrigued me now. Like, what sort of safety conditions? Is it like male dominate, like kind of, is there harassment, or is it something else?
Well, harassment is just like, it's
everywhere.
Okay, wait. So you say harassment, they say, hey, look, it's just how we greet you. Because like, and I always got away with, anytime I went to visit Jamaica, because of the way that I dress. I don't dress American. I always dress British. So they would always be like...
Sorry. Okay. I thought you dressed up as Tiffany. Sorry about that.
When you're not asking people where you're from and you're just kind of doing the scan to see where they're from.
Where I'm from, in Jamaican point of view.
I don't know.
No? Okay. Sorry, darling.
I was never able to put it together. I just said, so I was always called the British girl. So, but Jamaican culture tends to be a little bit, how can I say, vocal when it comes to greetings. And so you'd be like, hey, brownin'. And it's just like, that just means like browning the color of your skin. And so just like, I could walk by and be like, ooh, face somebody, I say 1 and 2. Like, it's.
I see, yeah, I see.
So that's just, and it's
the way they flirt.
There's nothing, there's nothing harmful about it, because they're just going to say it and move on. It's not like they're like, hey, I was talking to you. No, it's nothing like that, but they are very vocal. And so I think it takes a strong, mind to kind of block that out and deal with that. And it's just like, I think the reason why for me, unless I had like a clear like path of wanting to do something there, I wouldn't move there. So like for me, I feel like when I retire, this is weird, but when I retire, I'll probably go back to Bali, withstanding the earthquakes, as those were annoying. But yeah, I could see myself being there and just like opening up a coffee shop, and like I can see that. I don't quite have the plan for if I move to Jamaica, what would I do? I love it, but
from the distance.
But the mosquitoes are also, they love me too, and I don't like them.
Do you know the saying?
They're like my blood in Jamaica, like a lot, and I don't like that. So maybe if there's a different strand of mosquitoes, by the time I'm of retirement age, maybe I'll reconsider it, but that's it.
All right.
So tell the Prime Minister of Jamaica to get new mosquitoes, and I'll be there.
Okay. Okay, an army of mosquitoes has boarded the plane of mosquitoes and flying toward Jamaica. Okay. So interesting. I would imagine they can be an issue. Like I can just feel that vibe is that allows it. Yeah. But it is, of course, when you live in the Western and a different society, you're like, this is unacceptable. Yeah. Same in Russia. I remember men would be really vocal, and sometimes they can flirt in a really aggressive way. Yeah. And when you're in the society, you learn how to defend yourself. But when I lived in New Zealand, will be 10 years next year. And I called it, I lost my risk factor. So when I was in Moscow and I'm going the metro, I could identify, like really scan the crowd to understand who can represent the danger and already kind of, become more tomboy or wear a different attitude or just ignore. And now I'm more like coming in and like,
I know.
I'm just so curious about
That's
everyone. And then,
yes.
and you're like, oh, I forgot that exists. And you start
Yeah.
to giggling. I remember like we were acting really different when we were coming from New Zealand to stay in Russia.
Yes.
And you're like, that sort of reaction actually can cause really serious unpleasant circumstances.
Absolutely.
And I never walk at night in Moscow now, just get the Uber.
Walk at night in Jamaica.
I would.
Like, I'm sorry.
Would do that.
Sorry, all my Jamaican peoples, but I just wouldn't do it because I'm not from there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the same thing. Like, I'm not
probably
from,
just
I'm
don't
not
wanna
from here
provoke that.
either, though, right? And I feel totally comfortable like walking at night.
Interesting.
So
Same.
it's all a matter of, you know, the dangers that you, whether it's real or perception. Like, that's just me, and I'm just speaking for me.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying that these things actually exist, but for me, if you're asking me would I live there, I probably wouldn't.
I like what you put on. Like, definitely you wanted to
Yeah.
make a certain impression.
That's right.
Love louder. Like, this is like,
Look, YouTube. I've seen what happens on YouTube. And it just can go on and on. So I want to make sure that whatever's on YouTube is representative of, you know.
okay.
So.
Why did you make the decision to leave New York?
I think I left New York because I was burnt out. I have been working since, first of all, I begged my mom to work. I was like, I got a work permit. And I was like, can I please? So I've been working since the age of 18. And like, when I say working, I mean working hard. Like, you know that Jamaicans don't just have one job. So I've had like multiple jobs at one time. And I think I've just at that time, I was just really burnt out. And I had gone to LA for a conference and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, this is where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And so I just started looking for opportunities to live and work in LA, applying for jobs and all of that. And then I met a partner who also was like, hey, I want to go to LA. And I was like, oh, here we go. Let's do it. So that was really like the motivation. And then my friend had actually moved from New York to LA. And I was like, okay, here we go. Everything is lining up. Let's do it. So yeah, I moved to LA and it was just much of a more happy, like burden off life, you know, because I was doing too much in New York. I was doing any and everything. I was working, volunteering, like just everything. And so when I went to LA, it was just like, okay. This is what it's like to just chill for a minute, you know? And then I got a job and I decided I didn't want to do anything else. I saw opportunities to be a part of advocacy groups and all that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I just want to work and I want to live and enjoy life, you know? Because why not?
Life is too short.
That's right. So, and you're in LA, for goodness sakes, like, why not? You know, so just really taking advantage of the, you know, there's no sunshine, there's beach, there's this, like, let's do it, you know? So, and it was a much happier, simpler life. And I think it allowed me to really explore who I was, and really get into the things that I like to do without all of the like rush of being in New York and, you know, being told that, you know, you have to do this and you have to do that. And, oh, don't mess up your career by like having too many changes on your resume. Like, none of that mattered to me anymore. I just wanted to do things that make my heart sing. And when they stopped making my heart sing, then I peaced out.
Exactly. So that's propelled another move, right? So when you actually spend enough time with Tiffany without fulfilling expectations and list of obligations, what you need to do, you're like, I'm ready for another sort of change. Yeah. Was it like that?
Well, the end of LA was actually because I was on a contract with my employer and the contract was ending and it didn't get renewed. And so my partner and I had actually gone to Bali. And there was an opportunity to come back there and work for him. And I was like, okay, my contract is ending. Like, if we have a job, if we have a place, why not? You know, because we're very fluid people, just like, go. And so we did that. And that's how we ended up leaving like the States. We like sold our stuff. We drove our car across the country, dropped it off with my mom, like, yeah. And then just like flew to Bali. Now the story did not end up the way it was supposed to go with a job and a place to stay and all of that. But that's okay. That is part of the journey, right? And so from there, it forced me to look for a job. And I actually was trying to go to Australia. And then something just said like, you know, I didn't have enough points for a visa for Australia. But then somehow randomly, I was on LinkedIn and found like this opportunity for this initiative called Look, See, Build to get a work visa for New Zealand. And I was like, oh, all right. You check this out. And so I applied and all of that, and they accepted me, and the rest is history. Here I am. So,
And
yeah.
Aotearoa is now home.
Yes.
Feels like home.
Yes,
And
it does.
I was wondering how it was, probably I could try to understand why it feels like home as well, because there is a strong sense of community, especially coming from Maori Pacifica cultures.
Yeah.
It's a huge diversity, and Auckland is so multicultural.
Yep.
And at the same time, so that kind of speaks to Jamaican part in terms of community, people, culture,
Yeah.
music, but the high level of standards and safety, that's kind of what the Western society can provide you with. And New Zealand is kind of quite an amazing place that has it put together. We're not going to... It's live stream. Say hi to...
Hello.
Say hi to Donald Trump.
Oh, hey, Donald, I have some words for you.
Maybe gestures,
Yeah.
maybe sign language.
No. Still Christian. And since I am Christian, let me show you how to hold a Bible correctly. Okay, focus.
I actually watched that small video clip that you had with ATEED, and
Yes.
before we first met even, and you said that I really like that. I feel like I'm a person here. It's a different experience for you, and I can be myself.
Yep.
So what does it mean to be yourself, Tiffany, for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it mean to be seen as a person?
Yeah. And so I think, and when I did that video, I had blonde hair, right?
You did.
So
You definitely wanted to be seen.
Yes. And so I thought it was very interesting because I would see people look at me, but I didn't see them looking at me like the disgust that you see in some parts of America, right? And they would just look at me because they were kind of thrown off, like, there's a black woman. Oh, there's a black woman with blonde hair. Like, that's more of it. And it was that, and it wasn't, there's a black woman. Let me lock my car, you know? So that is the difference that I personally feel being here, because you do not have the buildup of prejudice here against black people that you do in America. And so it's a different type of thing. And you know, the double-edged sword there is what you do see is either what you're going to encounter in person or what you see on the TV. And I have no control on what you see on the TV. And I feel like I'm constantly, saying, no, not that. No, that's not who we are. Like, look at me. Like, I'll show you. Like, we have a whole community here. That's who we are. Don't listen to what you see on the TV, because it's very limited what you see on the TV, you know? And I think that's the difference. The weight of it is the difference. I do not carry the weight of racism here. I don't, like, if a police officer passes me by, I don't feel like I'm still looking in my, mirror to see if he's still behind me. I don't, whether that's good or bad, I just don't, but that I would always be in America like that, And I remember a friend said to me, I had a really nice car in America. And she said to me about this whole thing about stop and frisk. Of course it's okay for police to stop people if they think, and in particular Black men, if they think that they might be doing something. And the example was just that the something was playing your music loud at like 3 a.m. in your car. And I'm like, I do that. So you mean it's okay for me to be stopped? Like, because I'm just playing my music loud in my car at a certain time of night? And so these are the differences between what the logic is in America and what's here. Like, from what I can see, that's not necessarily what you formed just yet, and I hope you never do. And I hope that the more of us that are here, that you can see and meet with us in person, that you understand who we are and not what you see on the TV, you know? So that's my biggest, like, difference of being here, and just being able to walk around and just being like, look, this is who I am, you know, and this is me in all my natural glory. And I think that's probably the most annoying part, if I have to say, is that people have this obsession with understanding what my hair feels like. And I'm like, it's just hair.
Is it not the same as to ask, like, can I touch your nipple? It's just, I think it's as intimate. Like, I wouldn't, you mean like strangers, like, or people
Yes.
you've just met? They like, can I?
All of them. Or they just go for it. And I'm just like, I have no reaction time. And I'm
That's
like,
so weird.
oh, okay.
And I thought Kiwis are really protected of the space, you know? It's
Not
a
with me.
magnet. Maybe their hands are made of something else that is
So
like...
I've learned to do like the, if I can see it coming, but sometimes I can't see it coming. So they just go for it. So that's my only...
Denise, did you do it to
No, he did
Tiffany?
not. He was good.
You look at his face.
Roll clip, Lance.
That's funny. That's one of the imperfection of being in New Zealand, right? People get attracted to your hair.
Yeah. And so I've found that here I'm always like teaching, and anything that I get is truly out of ignorance, that they just do not know. And it's not like they know and are just trying to be cheeky and get away with it. They literally don't know, you know, and there's a curiosity, but there's some curiosities that you just don't need to satisfy. Like,
Totally.
understanding
And it's
what my hair feels like.
Boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Yeah.
Going back to Jamaican culture, if my grandmother only knew, she said, do not let people touch your hair because you don't know where their hands have been, which is very valid. But yeah, so she would be very upset. But I tried, Grandma. I tried.
Still keep
They just come
trying.
too fast.
You need like...
Yeah, I do. Yana.
Yeah.
Okay, now you tell me. You've been here for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
What is your what
We'll
is the-
swap.
what is-
Oh, wait,
yeah.
we'll just... Wait.
what? See? We're just gonna have a reel of like all the sounds that we've made
Oh
as
my
we've
God, I'm sorry.
fallen off of that. Yeah. What's really in here? Exactly.
Why you didn't drink with
Chocolate
us?
mint on the outside. On the inside. Don't tell anyone.
I think Russia and US, they're totally different countries, but there are some similarities in a really weird way that you're not empowered to make a change, like in this way or another.
Yeah.
Because of the leadership of the country. So in a way that I personally went through interesting stage of defining where I am in my life and what Russia means to me and how this dynamic. So I'm asking you, with all the stuff that happened recently, Black Lives Matter movement and people starting to waking up to truth and, you know, sharing those stories and protest, it must be really hard to see what's happening there as you have your family there and still a part of your soul is there.
Yeah.
how do you find whether strength or like first probably what feelings arise when you are here and they there and that shit happens?
Yeah.
So this is the first question.
It's been extremely hard. And it's been extremely hard because it's that on top of COVID. And so like it just all of it from afar has been hard because you're no longer a resident there. Like you're not living there, but you're also not firmly placed here. You're on a work visa, at least for me. Right. So I'm kind of like in this weird no man's land. I don't really belong anywhere at this moment because I can say I still belong to the United States. The truth is I can't even get there if I wanted to. Right. And I'm not, if I lose my job, I don't get to stay here. So I'm kind of floating in between and you feel in some ways helpless. Right? Because you're not in charge of losing your job. You're not in charge of making an impact over there. So the only thing I can do are the things that are on social media, right? I don't have an American phone number anymore. So anytime someone says like, text this number, blah, blah, I can't do it. So I'm very limited in how I can contribute to the conversation, but I do make an effort to have that conversation. And it's probably annoying some people. Like, hey, is this still going on? Are you still railing on about this? Yep. Until anything is done, I'm still going to rail on about it until we actually like arrest people for the murder of this woman who was in her house sleeping. Yep. I'm still going to rail on about it. And if you don't like it, I'm so sorry. But you as a person that doesn't like it, needs to understand, why is it that it's bothering me so much? Look inside of yourself. Don't look at me because I'm going to keep posting. So anyway, and that's the most that I can do. The other thing I can do is vote. And I will never abandon my position in doing that, no matter, as long as I'm a U.S. citizen, as long as I still have to pay taxes, I will be voting. So that's the other thing I can do. But it has been extremely hard to see like the country kind of essentially falling apart. We've never had good leadership from, from the start. I've been waiting to vote since November 9th of 2016. I promise you. So I cannot wait to actually submit my ballot. And if he thinks that absentee ballots do not count, yes, they will. And so I'm trying to do the things that we can actually push ahead while I'm here. I think it was beautiful to see the support from the Black Lives Matter movements, the 2 marches that we had here in Auckland. And that really warmed my heart because I felt like I could be a part of something even though I wasn't at home. So participating and actually lending my voice and, I felt like that was good. But yeah, all I can do is keep showing up, keep showing people who I am, who we are, why we matter, what we're actually saying, correcting people. Because I find that I can't be in every room, but it helps when I'm in the room to help guide the discussion in case it gets off course about what we're actually talking about. So for good or for bad, I've taken that on to myself and I try to correct things when I can and not get so frustrated by them. But yeah, so that's what I've chosen to do is that while I'm not in the States, I am here. I'm still an American citizen and yeah, to show people what it means to be a Black American citizen.
Yesterday we had Peter Ture. So he's a Maori activist and like storyteller. He's very like genuine in what he does and it's very unique. Yeah. And I told him about Wabi Sabi and all of that and wrote a bit of, what the philosophy behind it. Yeah. And he goes like, I don't actually understand what it is. Like by the time I was like, that's okay. But he was like, but I brought this and it was very meaningful and it was beautiful. And it was really funny that I was like, you really prepared, like, you know what Wabi Sabi is. You
this is literally
you like wore stuff for being seen on YouTube and all of that. So
my best friend Liz gave this to me when I was leaving from home, moving from New York. So she gave me these, and these are obviously two like women praying. And so when I went back home to New York over Christmas break, so it was like December, January, I had these and I was gathering my stuff to bring some of them home. And this one no longer had the head on it, right? And I was like, Liz, I was like, I don't want to take this back. Like, it's broken, you know? And she's like, oh, you can fix it. I was like, can I really? Oh. So then when I got here and I used crazy glue to put the head on, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's fine. And so now I have them like, you know, 2 by 2 next to each other. And every time I see it, it reminds me of Liz. And so, and the fact that she told me I could fix it, and I did. And there you are. So,
and it's not a really common thing in American culture to fix things, right? Like that, right?
No, but these are.
She's from America, right?
Yes.
American friend.
Yes.
Cool.
And these are collectibles. These are like things that you buy in like the Hallmark store. Yeah. So like the memorabilia store.
Yeah.
So it meant a lot to fix it, and not just you can't just get these again. So yeah.
The unique nature. Yeah. And she heard she doesn't have her.
I know, that's all right. That's all right, because you know
she still can pray, right? Because it's
that's right. Not everyone in this world is able-bodied.
Perfect.
And you know, so I'm sure she's finding a way to succeed in life without her left hand. It's all right. She's got her sister here to help her through.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
And is it like also a symbol of your friendship?
Yeah, except she's got blonde hair and I have red hair now, but you know, it's all about imagination, right? Cool. Yeah, and we both have both of our left hands. So till I'm laid to rest, yes, always be depressed. There's no life in the West. I know the East is the best. This is another artist you need to know outside of Bob, okay? So your homework for today is to explore a new reggae artist.
Yeah, of course. So what's the name?
Buju Banton.
Buju Banton.
Yes, so that's B-U-J-U.
Okay.
B-A-N-T-O-N. Buju Banton.
What does it mean?
Buju Banton.
So it doesn't.
Not everything has a meaning.
No, that's great. Okay.
And so, yes, Buju is what we used to listen to every Saturday morning when we were cleaning. My mom, myself, my sister. Are you taping me?
That's it. Okay. I just want to have a memory.
I just want to have a memory. Wait, okay. Oh, I know what I'll do.
Okay.
So, see if I can remember this dance.
Oh, cute.
We learned it. I'm not going to remember it. But it's, I don't want to wait in vain for your love. Yeah, and it's like you.
I don't want to
wait in vain for your love. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's so gentle.
Yeah, I know. It's too gentle. I want to go back to Till. Oh, what is this? Till Shiloh.
What do you want to go back to?
Right, this. It matches my dress.
It does.
It does.
That's actually a package of wrapping paper. So that matches your dress. There's nothing inside there.
Okay.
Maybe there is.
That's fine with me too.
It's from, it's a present from a really cool store called Public Record.
Okay.
It's in Ponsonby.
Public Record.
Which is a kind of a cool space where artists, makers, and regular people meet. So they have Japanese stuff, but also from local artists. And I want this to be also another meaning to our conversation. So you can open it now, you can open it home.
Weird quirk, I do not open presents in front of people.
So they don't see the real reaction.
No,
I got it. So you can lie like,
exactly.
That's such a great present. And then you're like, throw it, right?
Why would you call me out like that, Yana? So I decided to do a video response because then you can hear the music in the back. So I was wrong about who sings 96 Degrees in the Shade, which is a song that's playing right now. Woohoo! Anyway, I love this. Like, genuine. Like, that's no joke. That's no, like, gaslighting you. Like, I straight up love this. And I love the incorporation of Wabi Sabi because it's not perfect, right? Like, none of us are